What's going on, college football fans? It's the Mac and Murray College Football Show, and it's Thursday, so you know we're bringing the biggest guest of the week for the biggest game, and it's the Red River Rivalry. We're going to ask this guy what he calls it and what he prefers to call it. Colt McCoy, one of the greatest quarterbacks in Texas history, joining us right now to talk about the matchup between the Texas Longhorns and the Oklahoma Sooners. Colt, appreciate you joining us here this afternoon to talk a little ball before the big weekend.
Hey, big weekend. I mean, this is the game that gets circled every time the schedule comes out. I mean, there's nothing like playing Oklahoma in the Cotton Bowl. It's the game of the year for sure.
No, I don't think there's any question about that. So I asked you because I just figured it would be obvious that if you were going to the game, and you said, "Oh, maybe we'll see," and I didn't think about all the surrounding chaos that is the fair, the state fair, and all this chaotic thing. So, kind of walk us through for someone that has never been to the game and obviously knows on the field, but never the outside curricular activities. What is that day like from a fan perspective, trying to get to that thing?
Yeah. I mean, listen, as a player, it is like your juices are flowing like from the moment you leave the hotel because you got to drive through the fair, you drive by the all the FFA kind of where they're doing all the state fair and animals and then you turn the corner and then it's like Texas and OU and then they're shaking your bus, they're throwing eggs, they're giving you hand signs, that aren't like real cool.
Telling you you're number
But
one, right?
like by the time you get to like the locker room, I mean it's like just put my pads on, let's go play. This is unbelievable. And as a fan, it's kind of the same thing. There's really, there's nothing more iconic to me, just growing up here than playing in the Cotton Bowl. Like the history, the traditions, the split right down the middle, the sharing the same tunnel. I mean, I remember my freshman year, I was redshirt. I wasn't even playing. And, I'm like, God, like, I don't know if I could ever play in this game, but someday if I do, this is going to be amazing. And I'm walking down the tunnel, and our bands are like cussing at each other, yelling at each other. Like I finally get out and I look up, and there's like, in the, you walk out through the OU side. So they're screaming, they're throwing stuff at you. Like it is, the environment there's nothing like it. I mean, as a player, what a awesome experience that was for me to get to start in that game 4 years. And then, now as a fan, but you trying to get to the stadium is crazy because you got to walk through the fair. You got to walk through if I need to put on some, have
Thick
a
mustache.
mustache and all kind just to get up to the press box to watch the game. But I might make it. I haven't decided yet. But I just think it is the most fun setting that I've ever played in. Looking back, like it is. It doesn't matter if you're ranked or not. I mean, there's a rivalry there. You're both 3 hours from Dallas, and it's just it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, I can attest to just being in the Georgia-Florida game there in Jacksonville, the 50-50 split, and, like, I think y'all's is different because it's one half of the field, the other it's not down the goalpost, right? Down the middle?
Yeah, that's right. It's 50-yard line. Yeah.
Yeah. So ours is different because, like, you get up as a quarterback and you look up, and you're looking through the goalpost, and it's like a divide, red and
Yeah.
black here, orange and blue here, and you're like, "Oh my god, like, I'm the quarterback in this game, like, this is crazy to be in
Yeah.
this moment." I'm sure, obviously, same, but just a little different layout, but so much fun to be a part of.
Well,
Um,
I wasn't like a heavily recruited player, right?
yeah.
I mean, I got recruited late. I got an offer, going into my senior year to go to Texas. My dad was a high school football coach though, and so as a high school coach, you can get tickets to a Texas game or an A&M game or a Texas
Mhm.
Tech game, and so every now and then, my dad would get a ticket to go to these games. Well, when I was a sophomore, we got a ticket to go to the Texas game, and I'm sitting in the bleachers, and this is how crazy it is. So I'm sure it's the same way for Florida, Georgia. That the home team in that game gets the recruiting rights to that
Mm,
year, right?
sure,
And then
yeah.
it flips the next year. And so that year it was Texas got the tickets, and so they had all the recruits. And if you were a high school football coach or whatever, like you kind of got to sit in that same area. I think they only have a certain number of them, but somehow I got it. I got a ticket. I'm a sophomore. Dreaming of the day that maybe I
Mhm.
could play for either one of these schools, right, in a game like this. And so I'm sitting in the bleachers, and right in front of me is Adrian Peterson.
Mm,
And
mm.
so he's a senior getting recruited. Signing day hasn't come yet. I mean, he's just, he's one of my friends now, but he's just a behemoth of a guy. Like, I mean, I'm scared. I mean, I have nothing against, like he would whoop anybody I knew at that moment. And right before kickoff, it's all the recruits are in the Texas section because it's Texas home year. He stands up and said, "Whoever wins this game, that's where I'm going to school."
No
Oh,
way.
damn.
And I'm like,
Wow.
"Oh my gosh, like this is
A lot
crazy."
of pressure.
OU beats Texas 65-14 that year. Jason White, they go off, and then Adrian Peterson goes off to. I don't know if that's how he made his decision or not, but I
Wow.
remember sitting
I'm
there
sure it
like,
helped.
"Oh
seeing
my
one team
gosh,
beat
this
the
is
brakes
crazy."
off someone else.
Yeah,
God,
yeah.
what an
So,
absolute legend.
yeah,
All right,
legend.
I'm gonna rip the bandage off a little bit here. I think you and I obviously played in a different era than what's going on now with all the media, Twitter, TikTok, Instagram, NIL, like all those pressures. So like it's hard for me to truly feel what it's like to be a quarterback in this age. But like I do remember feeling isolated. And I don't ever remember feeling the pressure from media or reading things or going in blogs or any of that, like good or bad. Like if I had a bad game, I just focused like, okay, I just got to get better. Like I wasn't in there reading and scrolling all these people talking crap. So like I said, I felt like I was in this bubble. Do you think that's the same? Did you feel like you're in a bubble? And do you feel like a quarterbacks nowadays, like an Arch, feel the outside noise, or are they pretty much isolated like we were back in the day?
Yeah, great question. I would land more in your camp. I mean, listen, I knew that there was games where I played bad, and I'm sure there wasn't some nice things written about me, and there was probably plenty of that. But I would say that, when I played in school, you were dealing with you were playing with the same guys that you came into school with, and they weren't going to leave. And if no matter how much they got their butt chewed by the coach, like they were going to be there when you show up tomorrow. There was really nowhere else to go. Like in my time at Texas, I don't think we brought in one JUCO guy, and I don't think we brought in one transfer, and there was only like a couple guys that were out of state. I mean, it's like it's the Texas guys, and you're all in there together, and like it is what it is. And so because of that, I think it created an environment of, hey man, I played terrible. I got to pick it up. I got to practice harder. I got to figure this out. And I didn't, you would hear things. You go to class, you'd have to do your interviews during the week, and the way they would, pose questions to you, you could tell that it was things weren't great, or you could tell that things were good. But I think, from my standpoint, it was probably easier back then to kind of ignore some of the outside noise and really just kind of be, in that bubble. Yeah, like you said. And I think it's probably hard for guys nowadays with so much media and the state of college football, and guys are getting paid money now, to not kind of hear more of those things than maybe what we did.
Yeah.
They need the flip phone like Stetson Bennett,
Why
flip
not?
phone, no social
Take
media.
care of it.
Your
It would
quarterback.
eliminate a lot.
Oh,
It would eliminate a lot. Colt, I'll let Aaron maybe dive into some X's and O's and how do you help Arch at this point. But kind of from your aspect of, listen, you're one of the best to ever wear the helmet. You're one of the best quarterbacks to ever do that thing, and the highs and the lows, like you said, you faced it all. What is your advice for Arch Manning right now? A guy that just so much excitement coming into the season, maybe some of it unwarranted, because he hadn't been the starter yet, for a full season and things of that nature, but just quarterback to quarterback, Texas man to Texas man. I mean, what do you tell that young kid right now?
Yeah, I think it's important for us to, as we talk about this, to just, understand that, from my perspective, I'm not sure if there's been any player that has dealt with the unique set of expectations that Arch has. From a hype standpoint or from a extreme level of criticism standpoint. I mean, he's in a unique place. And so, like for me, I'm not really trying to overanalyze him at this point. I think he's making progress. I've been around him a lot. I've seen him at practice. He can make all the throws. He's smart. He loves the game. He prepares extremely hard. I think he's going to continue to make strides, and I do think he still has a really bright future in college and in the NFL. And so for me, like after playing at UT, like I recognize that, but you got to look at it from like legitimately who he is as a player right now versus like what everybody's expectations were going into this season.
I want to. I'm with you in the camp of I've seen a lot of progress. I've done some film breakdowns of Arch and kind of seen where he was to where he is now, and he's making plays. And my biggest thing on all of our shows, and Emek can attest to this, is he doesn't have the supporting cast. And I always say, like, there are quarterbacks that are elevators that can elevate the guys around them to play at a higher level or just take over a game, a la a Cam Newton or maybe like a Johnny Manziel, even though Johnny had Mike Evans. And then there's other guys that need to grow into that role. And I put myself in that category early on in my career. Like, I needed an AJ Green. I needed a guy that I could just throw a ball up to and not worry about what the coverage is going to make plays. I don't think
Right.
Arch has guys around him that can help him where he's at in his development as a quarterback. Maybe in a year or two from now, he's going to get there with time, with games, with reps, all that. But right now, he needs some support. And I'm more on the camp of Arch does not have the support that he needs at this stage of his life, from the offensive line to the receivers. Talk about like how hard it is to build confidence from a quarterback standpoint when you're not getting guys playing at maybe an elevated level.
Yeah. No, I think that's certainly fair. I mean, he's been without two of his primary receivers, DeAndre Moore, Emmett Mosley just came back on the scene. So I think he's still building that in-game timing, that connection with those guys. Obviously, we talked about this, or I talked about this a lot going into the season, like how important your offensive line is. I mean, every starter last year, went to the NFL. They all got drafted, and I think the guys right now are talented, but you're talking about playing at Ohio State on the road. I've been there. That's a crazy loud environment. You can't hear anything, right? You've got a group of inexperienced guys trying to figure this out all together. They're holding hands during the snap just so they don't jump. Like there's a lot of progress that has to take place outside of Arch's development, right? He's not stepping into a situation where he's got this veteran offensive line and these, these receivers around him that, are first round picks like we had, the last couple years. And so that's not an excuse. That's just saying like, yeah, it's challenging. I described this team early in the season as like you're like in 8th grade and you're super talented, but you can't wait to be on varsity, right?
Yeah.
Right.
And then and so now like these guys have watched Texas go to the playoffs 2 years in a row. So the expectations are super high. And you've got Arch and you've got a couple of these offensive linemen, these young guys that's like, oh, it's now it's our time. And so it's like we gotta go do this. You're seeing a lot of guys press, a lot of guys try to make a play instead of, just across the board, just consistently doing the right thing and counting on the other 10 guys to make the play. And I think you've seen that from the top at the quarterback position all the way to the lineman position, and have had some injuries at the running back. So it's like it's a hard thing sometimes to watch. But if you've played the position and I've played the position, like there's an enormous amount of growth that's still out there for this football team.
Correct.
Right. And I think they still have an opportunity, in SEC play to, find a way to get it done and battle through a year and find themselves in a position that they want to be in the end. But a lot of things are going to have to fall into place for them. When they're healthy, when those guys are healthy, when the receivers are healthy, when the running backs are healthy, I think they can hang. You look at Arch, and one thing you can't argue is how tough he is. How many shots he took last week, and how bad they played, and they're still, they still have a chance in the end ultimately. And so I think they just got to hang in there. I think they're going to get better and better. I think Arch is going to get better and better. And you got to look back to say, well, when I was in my 7th start, what was I like?
Right.
When I was a freshman quarterback, I had 5 senior offensive linemen in front of me that had just won a national championship. I remember the first time I walk in the huddle to call a play, nobody moves. Everybody just sits there and looks at me and like, no, like step out of the huddle, come back in here with a little more confidence, lower your voice, and talk to us like a man. And I'm like, I'm already scared. I don't know what to say, right?
Sure.
So I figured that out along the way. So I just think that's kind of where they're at, to be honest.
Yeah. And I think what you said there about this team still has room to grow. That's what you see when you have a young team, right? When you have an inexperienced team, they're figuring stuff out as they go. And who knows what that looks like at the end of the year, and what can they ultimately get to and look like. One thing that I am interested, we kind of talk about the mental side and then the lack of help or not. Looking at this game, like Venables and Oklahoma are going to bring it. They're going to send blitzes. They're going to be exotic. They have the number one defense in regards to total defense and the things that they bring. That's their strength. How do you help Arch? If you're the QB in this situation, what are you telling your head coach? What are you telling your coordinator? What do you like? What do you want to see from the Texas offense, knowing that those monsters are across the way and they're going to bring pressure?
Yeah. Yeah, great question. I mean, I played against Venables 4 years in a row when I was in college. He was the coordinator at Oklahoma. I mean, the amount of things that I saw for the first time, even going into my senior year, I'm seeing things in fire zones and, too high shells turning into cover zero and like he will show it all. And on third downs, I don't know if there's anybody better in the country right now than Oklahoma. What can you do to help Arch? You got to run the football. I mean, seriously, you got to be able to get something on the ground, right? And to stay in third and manageable. There's nothing more deflating to a defense than converting a third down run the football. There's just not. Been around the game a long time. If you can convert with your legs as a quarterback, or if you can throw in a draw or something on third down to get them out, now you kind of you got options on third down, but the only way you do that is to stay manageable. How do you stay manageable? You got to run the football. And so I think being able to complete quick game with a high percentage to stay ahead of the chains and being able to run the football. Like if you can do those two things and stay manageable, you have a chance. I don't know if there's any team in the country that has more third and longs than Texas right now.
Yeah.
Right. Like that's a difficult position to be in for any team, much less a inexperienced offensive line and a quarterback in his seventh start. Like that's
as a quarterback,
almost impossible.
A young quarterback, would you prefer more of like a max 7 protection, or would you more prefer like a 5 out where you can kind of see it a little bit better, declare and know where your heart's at? Like what's the balance of protecting, getting 3 receivers out versus 5 receivers or even 4 receivers?
Yeah, that's a good point. Early in my career, I really preferred like a max protect.
Yeah.
Like, hey, let me get 3 guys out, and I'll if I can have a little bit of time, I can likely find somebody.
Yep.
As I got older, as I got more years under my belt, like I loved spreading it out because then I can control the protection. I can make them, and if I'm hot over here, that's fine. That's my guy. I can handle that. But at least I know where I'm protected.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I imagine that Sark will come into this game with a little bit of a mix. Arch is really smart.
Right.
The things that he's growing up from is, a lot of times he sees things quicker and then kind of gets ahead of himself and, misses a throw or, so adding things to his plate, I don't think is something that he struggles with. But you better have a plan going against Venables. I mean, right. The first time I ever saw Palms coverage, Palms coverage is like, so corners can be, if number 2 goes to the flat, it's cover 2.
Yep.
If number 2 releases vertical, it's quarters. Right. The first time I was thinking quarters, and we got a little curl flat concept. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna pick on the flat defender, and all of a sudden there's a corner sitting there looking at me. Now look, and that's dead. And douche, I get hit by Gerald McCoy right in the mouth. Right. Like I'm like, what is this coverage? I've never seen this before. Right. Like that's gonna happen. And so simplifying some of that, protecting yourself will be great. But again, like the key to this game, you can always say the things, turnovers, explosives. No, like the key to this game is can they stay in third and manageable?
I always think a funny story about just protections real quick is, some of the protections I've seen lately is a lot of like fire. I always thought like fire zones meant like a 3 high safety look, 3 under, 3 over. And all of a sudden you're throwing like fire zones where they rotate somehow to cover 2. So like a lot of those quick, like I would say like, hey, 2 to my right, I'm hot, hey, takes 2, and they'll run like a quick slant because you got outside leverage. You're like, bam, hit that slant, you're good. And all of a sudden now they're rolling to a cover 2 where it's inside leverage, and now that take 2 is gone. It's just it's amazing the differences defense is doing. Obviously, what Venable does as well. It's going to be a really fun game. Well, Colt, we appreciate you joining us here. Let's get a quick score prediction before you move on for what the outcome is going to be of this great game.
Do we know if OU's Mateer's going to play or not? I mean,
Let me tell you, the line is flipped completely. Now OU's favored by 1.5. It did a total 180. I don't know if somebody knows something. It flipped. It totally flipped. So I don't know if that means Mateer's playing or what. We don't know that for sure as of right now.
Not that it matters, man. I'm going with my boys all day. I
Egg
mean,
on
we
right.
got
Come on.
we got to have a bounce back game. I don't see you going in there and lighting the scoreboard up like you're. Let's be realistic. You're playing against a Brent Venables coach defense. I think they're a little bit suspect on the back end, but their front seven is legit.
Yeah.
I think this is going to be a grinded out game. Who turns the ball over less. I look at last week, Arch, people forget he had 7 explosive passes. They had, I would say an explosive pass is like, 15 yards or more, 18 yards or more. The long touchdown pass to Ryan Wingo. He had a couple big runs. Like, I mean, he's definitely going to have to utilize his feet as a weapon at some point in this game,
Right.
but I just don't see the scoreboard lighting. I see this as like a 23-20 type game, something like that. Texas.
Yeah. I think that's a good call, man. I think it's a good call. We can't wait to see it.
Scores.
We're
I
grateful
like
for
low
your time,
scores.
man. We're
And
grateful.
I think
Colt,
at the end of the day, I think Texas defense, they've got a little, fire up their belly, right? Like
Me too.
they didn't play very good last week either, right? They gave up big plays, kind of uncharacteristic of them. Like they've got to tighten that down too. So regardless, I think Texas wins, but I see this in a real tight game. Again, we could talk about all day long what's going to win and lose this game, but like if Texas comes out in the first half and they don't have a single like 3rd and 5 or less call, they might get blown out.
Come on. We don't need to see a blowout. Well, Colt, it was great talking with you. I hope you get to come maybe parachute into the stadium. Then you can just go straight to the press
right.
box.
Exactly.
Okay. Colt freaking McCoy, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time for Texas. And EMAC, like, that was my guy. Like, I don't know if you know this, but like Texas was my team growing up. So I remember watching Colt, cheering for Colt, wanting to be the next quarterback of Texas. And unfortunately, fortunately,
Go dogs, sick 'em.
for my 16-year-old self, unfortunate that I did not get an offer from Texas, but fortunate that I did get an offer from Georgia and had the most incredible career that I could have ever asked for at the University of Georgia. Words matter, and we're not going to edit that out. It was an oopsie. Dogs, you know what I feel about you guys. I am a dog through and through, and it was the greatest decision of my life. All right. Let's talk a little bit about our top 15 teams in America. So we posted
a lot
the
of people not happy with these, Aaron, right now. I don't know why.
No, I have no idea why they hate our 15.
Some little team up north.
Oh, I've been getting blasted by the team up north, unfortunately, and I'm like, I didn't say anything bad about you guys.
Right.
Let's just pull up our top 15 so people can see it.
What's wrong with this? It looks fantastic.
I think it looks great. I think it's a great looking top 15. So let's work our way from the bottom up to the top and kind of go that way. So give me your initial thoughts on, let's go break it up into 5. So let's go 11 through 15. Obviously for people listening on podcast or Sirius, our 11 through 15 goes something like this. 11 is Texas Tech, 12 is Tennessee, 13 is Missouri, 14 is LSU, and 15 is Illinois. Give me your thoughts on that grouping of 5.
Yeah, I think, Texas Tech's kind of a team that's been hanging around a little bit, kind of been up, been down, but consistently in our top 15 since probably about week 3. I'd have to go back and check, but they've been hanging around. And this is a team that I think is really good. We both love the offense, think it's very creative. Got some real nice weapons out there, and obviously they're spending money. So that's been a point of interest, for us. Tennessee, again, as you see the star there, they're new this week to the rankings. They just, with the loss to, the Dogs there, they kind of dipped out for a second, but then they can be right back. And I think this offense has been a way better thing than you and I thought that it could be. And the quarterback play has been unbelievable. Very fun to watch. Missouri, kind of weird when I saw this because I was looking back at our list. I was like, why was Missouri not in the top 15? Why did we, scoop them
Missouri
past?
never gets respect.
They never get respect. And we gave them respect for a while. And then I don't know. I guess other people played better. It just kind of naturally knocked them out of the top 15. But it is interesting. More people aren't giving them a love. A lot of people picking them to upset Bama this week. I'm not one of them, but people are doing that. LSU just, fading a little bit. Obviously they're kind of staying in the top 15 here, but I would not be surprised in the next couple weeks if they keep finding their way out. And maybe it's not even after a loss. They just have not looked good. And then Illinois, congrats. We have you here for 4 days, and then you're going to get obliterated by the number 2 team, and you will be gone.
Yeah. This is you get your one spot in the top 15,
Yeah.
back in our top 15, and I don't think that's going to last too long. I don't think they'll drop a hopefully they give a decent performance, but if you haven't seen our preview show, go back and watch that. We break down all the big games, including that one against Ohio State. Kind of my thoughts, I agree with you. Like Texas Tech to me is I think is going to continue to work its way up the list and possibly into our top 10 eventually because that team is so damn good. And they have an opportunity to impress this weekend as they play Kansas, who's a pretty damn good team with Jalen Daniels, a team that I just covered a week ago in their win versus UCF. So they win that game and it looks good. It really feels like they are, continue to be in control of the Big 12. A team in the Big 12 that I do like, though, I had them a few weeks ago, is BYU. It's a good football team all around. Bachmeier starting to play some good quarterback play. Really came on, honestly, in the game that I had them at ECU. So they are very talented on both sides of the football. I don't think as talented as Texas Tech, but I think that's a contender and a couple others within that conference. So we know it's going to be an absolute dogfight in the Big 12 to the very end with some of the teams that are in there. I'm with you, Tennessee. I think Tennessee all around has really impressed me. A team that is a missed field goal away from being undefeated and probably maybe inside the top 7 or 5. You're 5-0 with a win against Georgia. Big difference, and they're still everything right in front of them. Getting healthy, especially on the defense side of the football. I like them a lot. I love Missouri. I'm with you in the sense of I wish I could have given them more respect throughout early on this season, but they really haven't had an opportunity to really, prove it just yet. I know the game against South Carolina, the win against Kansas, always will continue to look better and better because I think Kansas is a good football team. But, this is their moment, and they're going to have a few more moments along the way against Vandy, A&M, Oklahoma, Mississippi State. They'll be on the road against Auburn. So, many more chances for this team to prove why they belong in everyone's top 15 in our playoff team. I think they're playoff caliber. I think they have a quarterback that's playing at a high level. We talked about yesterday, I believe the best running back in America, defense and defensive edges that can get after the quarterback. So I really like Missouri. LSU coming off the bye week. I'm interested to see what they look like against South Carolina this weekend. Did they figure things out? Is Nussmeier healthy? Because he did not look good against Ole Miss. He looked banged up. And, we've talked about Illinois. They are a good team, but I think they'll be out of the top 15 after this week. So that is our 11 through 15. So one more time, Texas Tech, Tennessee, Missouri, LSU, and Illinois. So let's jump to our next 5. We're starting from 6, working our way to 10. So at number 6 is Texas A&M. 7 is Indiana. 8 is Ole Miss, moving back 3 spots. What are we doing moving Ole Miss back so far? Georgia Tech at 9, which I had a lot of Tech fans saying, oh my gosh, we got a Georgia guy putting Tech ahead of Georgia. And then at 10, my dogs coming in at that number 10 spot. Once again, Emac, you go first. Give me your thoughts on this grouping of 5.
Well, I think what happened with Ole Miss, like we got really, really excited about them, and then we kind of, pulled back the brakes a little bit. And they might still be very, very good. And they look the part right now. And I think we both, love what Trinidad's doing. He's super creative, just an electric guy. Defense isn't quite what it's been, in regards to strike fear in your heart. And you've got a nasty defensive line, still some really good players. But I think Ole Miss can do some things. They'll be interesting to see. But I think we kind of shot the barrel a little too quick. Even though the AP has them at 4, we had them I think at 5 last week. That would do my math quickly right there.
I think LSU's screwing everyone. LSU's screwing Ohio.
They are.
They're screwing a couple
and that was
teams.
the reason why. That was one of the reasons why. Like that just win isn't as impressive as maybe it was when it initially happened. Georgia Tech, I think, is rolling. Like those dudes are fun to watch. You see what Haynes King can do, what he means to his team. I love that offensive line. I think they're one of the best in college football. They do not let him get hit. They protect him, and they run the ball really well. I cannot wait to be there. We'll be in Atlanta this weekend. Can't wait to be in the flats. Them dogs, man, they're just hanging out, just right here, just chilling. Don't forget about us, Georgia says. I think that's a good football team. Huge opportunity this weekend. maybe to flex your muscles a little bit. Let's see that pass rush. That's my biggest thing
Yep.
for the Georgia Auburn game. Like, can we establish any type of rush and get production up front from that big D line there? Indiana, I think, is really good. Indiana has a huge opportunity this week. I
Huge.
mean, they might jump into the top 4 after this weekend if they can be road dogs. Go to Eugene, as you mentioned last episode. Very hard place to play, very hard place to win. But I like Mendoza. He's a veteran. He's mobile. They run the heck out of the ball. Obviously, Indiana does. And Oregon hasn't quite seen, a beast like this. We'll see. We go back and forth on this. I think they're kind of mirror
Oh, yeah.
images of each other. And then A&M, I'm with you with the quarterback. That might, you might be flying too close to the sun here, A&M, and you might figure it out sooner than later that that's not a huge ordeal that you can overcome time and time again.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I like A&M overall. I just saw something about my guy Peter Burns saying A&M's the best team in the country if Marcel Reed kind of continues to figure out. And I'm not saying he's playing bad this season. He's had some really special moments because I do think Notre Dame's a good football team. Defense is definitely a struggle. That's one team that I think can work their way inside the top 15, possibly the next week or two. Because you look at their losses this year and you're like, man, they lost to Miami. And then they lost to A&M, 2 teams that are in our top 6, and they lost to them by, combined less than a touchdown, for goodness sake. So A&M's really good football team. Defense is coming along as we expected, and the offensive line, highest rated offensive line according to PFF, with a great running game, and Marcel and what he can do with his legs too. So I like A&M. You bring up Indiana, our number 7 team, and elite quarterback play. Elite play all around, one of the best rushing teams in America, best rushing team in the Big Ten. I mean, listen, if they go to Eugene and win, they are 100% the top 3 team in America, because they would have wins against Illinois, which they beat them by a bajillion points. And then you go into one of the most hostile environments in America and take care of business against, our number 3 team. Hell yeah, they jump to where they need to jump to. So, somewhere in that top 4, I don't know if I would jump them above Alabama if Alabama takes care of business against Missouri. Because you might say, like, okay, Alabama may have a little bit of a better resume, but overall, yeah, definitely a top 4 team. And then obviously on everyone's radar going forward would be Indiana. I like Ole Miss's offense. I think they have their quarterback in Chambliss. I think he's going to be the guy going forward. I think the offense is going to be great, as they always are, but they haven't faced an offense yet. And that's the one thing to me that does worry me about the Rebels. They face Georgia State. They face Kentucky. They face Arkansas, which, I mean, obviously
Right.
great quarterback play but they give up 35 points. And Arkansas's defense is horrendous. Then they faced Tulane, which was a great performance, but still Tulane, and we knew that was going to happen. Tulane's a little one-dimensional on offense. And then they faced a struggling LSU where Garrett Nussmeier is banged up and looks awful. So, like, I'm still waiting to see what we're going to get from this defense, and we're not going to know maybe all season, because they don't face an elite offense this year. You look at their schedule for Ole Miss, Washington State, Georgia, good offense. I wouldn't necessarily categorize Georgia as elite offensively. Oklahoma, and we know they struggle up front, and we'll see, as Mateer gets healthy. South Carolina, the Citadel, Florida, and Mississippi State. Like, they don't have a gauntlet for themselves defensively. We're like, oh, they're going to get steamrolled on that side of the football. So they just may be in a position where they may skate by with their schedule and where their defense is. I'm with you. I love Georgia Tech. Don't clip that anyone and just have that just randomly out there without it in context. I think that's a great football team. I love Haynes King. I love the coaching staff. I love the mentality of the football team. Hard nosed, get after it. And then Georgia is been just, and I feel like I'm always harder on my team than any other team. They've been inconsistent. Let's just be honest. Offensive line was inconsistent. Defense has been inconsistent. They've yet to really play a full game. They have an opportunity this weekend on the road, hostile environment, 7:30, Jordan-Hare, to continue to try to move in the right direction. So yeah, that's our 6 through 10. So once again, A&M, Indiana, Ole Miss, Georgia Tech, and Georgia. So let's get to our top 5 teams in America, according to the only poll that you need, not the AP, but the Mac and Murray top 15. Number 1, Miami. Number 2, Ohio State. Number 3, Oregon. 4, Alabama. I had to work on EMAC to get them into the top 4. They moved up 5 spots. 5 spots. I don't even think they're in our top 15 a couple weeks ago. Now they're at number 4. And then at number 5 is the Oklahoma Sooners, dropping 1 spot out of the top 4 to that number 5 spot behind the Crimson Tide. EMAC, give me your thoughts.
Yeah, I think I should have stood my ground further, stronger. I
What?
let you bully
Don't
me into putting
waver.
Alabama up there. I've let you bully me into that.
Pootie.
They're not hosting a playoff game with 1 loss in front of these teams, man. I should have put them at 5. I should have put them at, or a bye, excuse me, a bye, not hosting. We should have put them at 5. But I'm fine with that. They're playing well. They're hot, but they do have a loss, and I think that matters. Earlier, talking about better resume than Indiana.
These are like our
that
power
loss should
rankings.
matter.
Like, if Alabama played
For
Oklahoma
sure,
tomorrow, who
for
would
sure.
win?
So we'll see. That's a different story. Like, where are we getting? Where are we are we just playing in fantasy land of what
Yes.
could happen,
It's
or
like
are we
power
judging?
rankings. These are power
Or are we
rankings.
judging what you've done? Because I don't want a bunch of people to just sit here and say that loss doesn't matter. That loss
yeah,
matters.
it does.
Big deal. It's a big deal. But they are playing well. They're playing really well right now. And here's the deal with Oklahoma. I think John Mateer's gonna be back, baby. I think he's playing in this Texas game. I can't wait.
It's wild.
Pete Thamel was tweeting about it. It seemed a little bit of like it wasn't like a earth-shattering tweet. Like, it kind of was phrased like that. But when I read it, I was like, okay, like, duh. Of course he is.
Wild.
When it says he's trying, he's wanting, to play all these things. Of course he is. But I can't wait to see if that happens or not. I like Oklahoma. I think their defense is the best in the country. They're super explosive, super dynamic. So is Ohio State too. At 2, they play different people. Like, I'm not a huge, massive fan of Big Ten football. Like, it's just slow, big. There's some dynamic pieces with Oregon and Ohio State. I know that. Michigan a couple years ago. But overall, I'm just not super impressed with that when I see it. So that's maybe the hesitation with, putting Ohio State number 2 there. Oregon, again, as we just mentioned, I think is a really good team. I think they're fast. I think they're explosive. They have some nasty big defensive linemen. And then Miami is our number 1 team. They're the most complete team. You've said it for a couple of weeks now. They look like an NFL team. When I see how Carson Beck orchestrates this team, when I see what they can do, if you try to load up the box, take away the run, okay, great. Carson's going to deal it. If you want to go light and have, kind of an extra nickel out there or lose a lineman to have an extra DB, they're going to run it right down your throat. And the defense has been balling. They'll have their first true test coming up pretty soon, of people that'll air it out and teams that'll push the ball downfield. So maybe we learn a little bit more about Miami in a couple weeks, but I think they're the real deal.
Yep, I agree. No, I agree. Yeah, I think we have been saying that for a few weeks now, that Miami is the best team in the country. And I'll say it again. I may have exaggerated on a tweet when I said that there's a distant second after Miami. These other teams are really good. I think there are a group of teams that are very, very talented. I just think Miami is the most talented and has the least amount of question marks, and they're playing at a high level and just, to me, playing a brand of football that I absolutely love to watch. That very much pro style. We don't need to be flashy. We can just line up and beat your ass over and over again. And I respect that kind of football. I just do. I love what Miami's putting on the tape week in and week out on both sides of the football. Ohio State, Julian Saint's been terrific. He has been what everyone hoped what it was going to be. Like a 5-star quarterback, sat a year ago, had some moments in backup duty to come in there and show what he has a little bit. But now the guy with that receiving core, Bo at running back has been just a huge addition to create some balance on an offense. And the defense has been great. One of the best secondaries in the country, and the best player, Caleb Downs, on the defense side, maybe in the country as well too. So Ohio State's right there. I just think I am more confident because you have a quarterback in Carson Beck than Julian Sand. And once again, I'm not saying anything negative about Julian Sand, but you're talking about a quarterback that's going to be drafted inside the top 10 next year. And Julian may be a top quarterback selected in a year from now, come the 2027 draft. But just like right now, Carson Beck has years of experience on him, years of playing in bigger time games. I just think that plays a pivotal role as we get later in the season, as we get in the playoff time. And if these these two teams do face off, say in the playoffs or in the championship. I love Oregon. I love their speed. I love their quarterback. I love what they do on both sides. And obviously, you and I are both big fans of Dan Lanning. I think Alabama's playing as good as anyone. They're our number 4 team. I think they are playing and hitting. They're now playing like we thought they would on both sides of the football, flying around, hitting people, running the football with jam. elite playmakers on the outside. I mean, Bernard, you would probably say, like, besides Ohio State and their 2 receivers, probably take Alabama's 2 receivers over anyone else in the country right now, the way they're playing. And then
What
you have
they're
Ty
doing, yeah.
Simpson.
Yeah, putting stats to paper and production in the team, man. It's fun.
Yeah.
And something you just said there that made me really kind of perk my ears up, really think about. Could you imagine a Miami Ohio State natty like that? That would
Ooh,
be some big old numbers. Let me just tell you, it would be
big
a lot of
old
fun
numbers.
to see a little
Uh,
throwback.
that would be fun. Get some good jerseys, some good helmets. And then 5, Oklahoma, like, I think we all agree, elite defense, elite defensive line. I still need to see more from that offense with or without Mateer, even with him, to create some balance, to be able to run the football and not put everything on him in order to have success. So I still am I'm a little bit hesitant of buying too much stock on Oklahoma. I love what they've done this season. And obviously they're 5-0. Um, but I just, it's they got a hell of a schedule. We know that. We knew that ahead of the
Yeah,
season. When you look at the back end, it's obviously Texas at South Carolina, which is a very difficult place to play. Ole Miss at Tennessee, at Alabama, Missouri, LSU. And if you can't score points on offense, your defense may be elite, but you're gonna lose 1 or 2 of those games, and you can still be a playoff team. But I just don't know if you can be that unbalanced and be a legit contender. Because I mean, let's be honest. Like when we look at Miami, Ohio State, Alabama, and Oregon, what do we say? Even A&M, like they're balanced. They can win games
right,
on defense. They can win games on
right,
offense. I don't
right.
know if Oklahoma, you can necessarily say that right now. Like if
No,
the defense gives up 30 points, do we truly believe the offense has the firepower with just material alone? And maybe they
correct.
do, maybe they don't. We will see. But that is
Yeah.
our top 15 this week. Let's get to something that you brought up and are very passionate about. You had a great post about it this week about the Belichick experiment and what's going on at USC. So I'll give you the floor here and let you kind of discuss and talk about what is going on there in Chapel Hill.
Yeah, it's just super odd, man. You know, the when this whole thing happened, right? Like Mac Brown, you know, it's announcing that they're kind of pushing him out the door. You're just like, whoa, like what is going on? You know, at North Carolina, why would you ever do that? You know, a guy that is obviously won there at the highest level. Like you look at some of the best years in that program's history, it's with Mac Brown at the lead there and the recruits that he's brought in recently, the quarterback development. My gosh. I mean, you look at Sam Howell, you look at Drake May and these just great players that they've been producing now have the wins lately. Were they there? Maybe up and down and things of that nature. But I thought that was a huge mistake, the way that they handled that. And then you go and get, you know, this guy, the greatest NFL coach ever, like awesome, won a billion Super Bowls, is the winningest NFL coach of all time, all these different things. He's never coached in college. He's the oldest coach in college. Like this is a different kind of game. And I just never thought when that happened, Aaron, that it would work. And now there is like a media frenzy. Like everybody's done, like there's blood in the water and there's just sharks swimming around that program trying to figure anything out. Cause obviously it's been a disaster. It's not working. That there's culture, not even concerns. Like there's no culture. Like what is the culture? It doesn't exist. You know, and there's the concerns of, you know, toxicity and all these things in the program and guys allegedly selling tickets or not. Like there's a lot of weird stuff going on right now. A coach just got suspended. That was reported. I saw that on the Twitter sphere there that a coach was suspended for improper whatever. Like I don't even know how you do that these days. Like
Yeah.
there's no rules. I don't know how you get in trouble for that. Um, and it just seems like there's a really high level of concern from everybody involved that this is not going to work and a change may be needed sooner than later, which I don't know how you do that. I don't know how you do that. And then on top of all that, you have the you know, the Hulu show that's coming in there that wants to be like a mini Hard Knocks, and they just cancel that, you know, 3 weeks in North Carolina. So they say, we don't want to do this anymore. So man, it's a really weird spot on top of all the other distractions, which I'm not going to discuss or bring up from
I'll bring
whatever,
that
but
up.
y'all know what I'm talking about. It's chaos. It's actual chaos. And think of all the money that North Carolina invested into this situation that is one of the biggest flops in college football history.
I mean, listen, when he got hired, I think there was an overall excitement of it's Bill Belichick. Could it work in the NFL? Could he be Jim Harbaugh? Could he get that program going? Could he create some sort of environment that is hard-nosed, hardworking, Nick Saban-esque? Because obviously those two are very close. Nick when he was at Alabama and Belichick when he was at the Patriots. I had buddies that played for both teams, and I had buddies that obviously played for other teams in college. I went to Bill Belichick and like, dude, this is it's a different world. It's not like an NFL team the way he runs it. It feels more like a college football team. So I'm like, okay, well maybe that could help translate into it. And that kind of got me excited a little bit. Plus, obviously the branding, they'll be able to recruit to these kids of like, yes, NIL is always on the top of these kids' minds. But if you're coached by Bill Belichick, what he says should get me excited about getting to the next level because he's seen it, he's done it. He knows what it takes to play at the NFL and win Super Bowls. So that should help me. So I was like, okay, this experiment may work. To me, the biggest issue with a lot of this was the girlfriend situation with Jordan. Like the distractions that I saw this offseason with Belichick was a lot. And it seemed to me like he was there for almost a joyride and like, oh, I'm just excited to be a coach again and coaching college football. And like, oh, this may even be easy. Like, I don't need to devote all my time to focusing on this because it's just college. This is not the NFL. This is going to be a cakewalk. I can close my eyes and snap my fingers and I'm going to have success in college football. And it's not like that. It is difficult, especially in today's era where kids are free to move around, when it's super competitive when it comes to recruiting and NIL. And I just think that we did not get the same Belichick that was coaching the Patriots all those years. And I think if I'm a North Carolina fan, I mean, I voiced this early on the season too. If I'm a North Carolina fan, that's not what we signed up for. I signed up for the guy that was not going to be on a beach flaunting around with, my girlfriend who's, a third of my age and doing all this other stuff. I wanted a coach that's in there grinding, getting this team better. And right now they're not getting better. They look terrible. They look like the worst team in America.
Right. I mean, I would love to watch practice just to see what they do.
Yeah.
I'd love to be in a meeting.
Do you think he even cares at all? Like, is he interested in being a college football coach?
Right. I mean, I have to say yes to a degree because he did it. I don't think it was just about the money or whatever, but right now I'm thinking he's thinking why did I do this? This is the worst decision I've ever made. And I do think it's tarnishing his legacy a little bit, which is unfortunate. I don't know what you do moving forward. I don't know what the buyout numbers look like. A lot of people are telling us 20 million, something crazy on, again, on social media and things of that nature. They say, what can you do next? And they say, we make all these moves for North Carolina and we think we bring in the best coach ever, for NFL, and we think that's going to happen. What should North Carolina, like, what's next? What do you do? So it's a really tough spot, man. And it's just an unfortunate situation that I didn't, really see working ever. But I didn't think it would be this bad. Like, I didn't think it would be this bad,
especially in the ACC. And no ill will to your ACC, but like he wasn't taking over the job of some SEC school, some 500 team SEC school, and you have to kind of go through that gauntlet, or even the Big Ten. Like, you should. The ACC is very talented. There's some really good teams, no doubt about it. And the way that FSU's playing, and Miami's playing, and Georgia Tech's playing, Louisville's playing great football. I mean, there's a ton of teams playing great football, but it should be an easier lift, and to be the worst team in that league and one of the worst teams in America. And it's not like North Carolina's a football powerhouse but like they've had success at North Carolina,
right?
And it's still a decent brand. It feels like it's completely dropped off since he's taken over, and I think I agree. That's concerning.
I agree. It has been way more harm than good.
Yes,
in any fact, and maybe that preseason in the first week leading to kickoff, maybe that was worth it. I'm sure ticket sales were great. I'm sure, attendance and things of that nature and applications, I'm sure that all went up. But certainly now you ain't getting nothing from all that. No. You're not getting anything from it.
All right. Well, that is our Thursday show leading into the weekend. We appreciate all y'all listening, whether it's on Sirius, on the podcast, or on YouTube. Make sure you do go to our YouTube and our social medias, like, subscribe. We have a lot of great content. EMAC did a tremendous job this week breaking down Clemson, and then Bain at Miami, doing a deep dive on him. I got 3 or 4 quarterback breakdown videos going in depth about some of the top quarterback play across the country. Go watch that. A lot of X's and O's, a lot of fun education. And obviously go follow us on our socials as we do a lot of good stuff too at the Mac and Murray College Football Show. So y'all enjoy your weekend. We will be back with our recap show after another great week of college football. See y'all.